They found him 3 days later, still trying to crawl home. His shell was cracked in 5 places, and he couldn't feel his back legs anymore. The fastest runner. Tortoise wasn't always slow. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. My grandmother told me this story, and her grandmother told her. Back then, Tortoise could run. Not just walk. Actually run. He was the second fastest animal in the whole forest. Only deer could beat him. Tortoise loved racing. He'd challenge everyone. He beat Antelope. He beat Dog. He even beat Leopard once, which made Leopard so angry he didn't talk to anyone for a week. But Tortoise had a problem. He was arrogant. Really arrogant. Nobody can touch me, he'd say after every race. I'm too fast. Too smart. Too good. The other animals got tired of hearing it. They stopped racing him. They stopped inviting him to gatherings. When Tortoise walked by, they'd look the other way. Tortoise didn't care. He thought they were just jealous. One dry season, Hare came to the forest from the grasslands. Hare was a traveler, always moving from place to place, looking for food and adventure. Hare heard about Tortoise. Everyone was talking about him. Is he really that fast? Hare asked Squirrel. He's fast, Squirrel said. But he's unbearable. Nobody likes him anymore. Hare found Tortoise by the river, drinking water. I hear you're the fastest animal here, Hare said. Tortoise looked up. He sized up Hare. Hare was lean, with powerful back legs. Second fastest, Tortoise said. Deer is faster. But yes, I'm better than everyone else. Want to race? Hare asked. Tortoise smiled. Finally, someone new to beat. What do we race for? Tortoise asked. How about this, Hare said. We race from here to the big baobab tree on the hill. That's about 5 miles. Winner gets to take whatever they want from the loser's home. Tortoise thought about this. He had stored up a lot of food for the dry season. But he was confident. He'd never lost to anyone except deer. Deal, Tortoise said. Tomorrow at sunrise. They shook on it. The whole forest heard about the race by evening. The next morning, half the forest showed up to watch. Nobody cheered for Tortoise. They were all hoping Hare would win. Tortoise noticed this. It made him angry. But it also made him more determined. Elephant agreed to be the judge. When I trumpet, you run. First one to touch the baobab tree wins. Tortoise and Hare lined up. Hare was stretching, looking relaxed. Tortoise was focused, staring at the hill in the distance. Elephant trumpeted. They took off. Tortoise shot ahead immediately. He was fast. His legs moved like pistons, his body low to the ground. Hare was right behind him, but Tortoise had the lead. They ran through the forest. Tortoise knew every route, every rock, every shortcut. He used them all. Hare was good, but Tortoise was better. After 2 miles, Tortoise was still ahead. After 3 miles, Hare started falling back. I've got this, Tortoise thought. Easy win. He started thinking about what he'd take from Hare's possessions. Maybe that nice sleeping mat Hare had brought from the grasslands. That's when Tortoise made his mistake. He looked back to see how far behind Hare was. And he didn't see the hole. The hole wasn't big. Maybe a foot wide. Just an old warthog burrow that had collapsed. But Tortoise's front right leg went straight into it at full speed. He flipped. His body went up in the air, spinning. He came down hard on his shell. The sound was like a clay pot breaking. Crack. 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 Tortoise hit the ground and rolled. He tumbled down a small slope, bouncing off rocks. His shell cracked more with each impact. When he finally stopped, he was on his back at the bottom of the slope. He couldn't breathe. Pain shot through his whole body. Hare ran past above him. Hare didn't even look down. He was focused on the finish line. Tortoise tried to call out, but he couldn't get enough air. He tried to flip himself over, but his legs wouldn't work right. 2 of them weren't responding at all. He lay there, staring at the sky, listening to his own wheezing breath. In the distance, he heard the forest animals cheering. Hare had won. Tortoise spent the whole day on his back. He managed to flip himself over by late afternoon. It took him 2 hours of rocking back and forth, using his front legs to push against a rock. When he finally got right side up, he tried to stand. His back left leg was broken. His back right leg wouldn't move at all. His shell had 5 major cracks running through it. He started crawling toward home. It was 3 miles away. Every movement hurt. The cracks in his shell felt like knives cutting him. His broken leg dragged behind him. But he kept going. He crawled through the night. By sunrise, he'd made it maybe half a mile. No one came looking for him. The forest animals figured he'd gone off to sulk somewhere after losing. They were celebrating Hare's victory, enjoying seeing Tortoise finally beaten. Tortoise crawled through the second day. And the second night. On the third day, Monkey was climbing trees looking for fruit. He looked down and saw Tortoise. "Tortoise?" Monkey called. "Is that you?" Tortoise could barely speak. He was dehydrated, exhausted, and in terrible pain. Monkey climbed down and saw the cracked shell, the broken legs. "Oh no," Monkey said. "What happened?" "Fell," Tortoise whispered. "Hole. Been crawling. 3 days." Monkey ran to get help. The animals carried Tortoise home. Elephant was strong enough to lift him gently. They laid him in his burrow. Baboon, who knew about healing, examined him. "The shell will heal," Baboon said. "But it won't heal right. The cracks will stay. And his back legs. I don't know. The left one might work again someday. The right one, I don't think so." "Will he walk again?" Elephant asked. "Maybe," Baboon said. "But not like before. Never like before." Tortoise lay there, listening. He understood what this meant. No more running. No more racing. No more being the second fastest animal in the forest. The animals took turns bringing him food and water over the next few weeks. Even the ones who didn't like him. Even the ones he'd beaten in races and bragged about it. Hare visited too. "I'm sorry," Hare said. "I didn't know you fell. I would have stopped." Tortoise wanted to be angry. But he couldn't. This wasn't Hare's fault. It was his own. He'd been looking back instead of watching where he was going. He'd been thinking about winning instead of being careful. "Not your fault," Tortoise said. It took 2 months before Tortoise could leave his burrow. His shell had hardened with the cracks still visible. They looked like jagged lines across his back. His left leg had healed, but it was weak and stiff. His right back leg still barely worked. When he tried to walk, it was completely different from before. He couldn't run. He couldn't even walk normally. He had to drag his back right leg. Every step was slow and deliberate. He had to think about each movement. The first time he went to the river for water, it took him 2 hours. Before, it would have taken him 10 minutes. He passed Dog on the way. "Tortoise," Dog said, nodding. There was no mockery in his voice. Just acknowledgement. Tortoise nodded back. He kept walking. Slowly. Word spread through the forest. Tortoise was walking again. But he was slow now. Really slow. The younger animals, who didn't know him from before, didn't understand. "Why does Tortoise walk so slowly?" They'd ask their parents. And their parents would tell them the story. Tortoise changed after the accident. He still went about his daily life. Getting food, getting water, maintaining his burrow. But everything took longer now. Everything required patience. He couldn't rush anymore. He had to plan. If he needed to go to the far side of the forest, he had to leave early. If it looked like rain, he had to find shelter quickly because he couldn't run from storms. But something else changed too. He started noticing things he'd never seen before. When you move slowly, you see more. The way ants work together to carry food. The pattern of bark on trees. The small flowers that grew in the shade. He started talking to other animals differently. Before, he'd always been in a hurry, always thinking about the next race. Now, he'd stop and have actual conversations. Squirrel told him about her children. Monkey showed him a new fig tree he'd found. Even Leopard, who'd avoided him for years, started greeting him again. "You're different," Leopard said one day. "I'm slower," Tortoise said. "Not just that," Leopard said. "You're easier to be around." Tortoise thought about that. He realized Leopard was right. When you're not constantly trying to prove you're the best, people relax around you. One day, a young tortoise came to visit him. His name was Little Tortoise, and he was fast. Really fast. "Is it true you used to race?" Little Tortoise asked. "That you were the second fastest in the forest?" "Yes," Tortoise said. "What happened? Why don't you race anymore?" Tortoise told him the story. The bet, the race, the hole, the fall, the 3 days of crawling home. Little Tortoise listened with wide eyes. "So you're slow now because you got hurt?" Little Tortoise asked. "Yes. But you were fast before. You were great at racing. Don't you miss it?" Tortoise thought about this for a long time. "Yes," he finally said. "I miss running. I miss the feeling of wind on my face. I miss the thrill of racing." "That's sad," Little Tortoise said. But Tortoise continued, "I don't miss who I was when I could run." "What do you mean?" "I was arrogant. I thought being fast made me better than everyone else. I didn't have friends. I didn't notice the world around me. I was always looking ahead to the next race, the next victory. And now? Now I have to be patient. I have to be humble. I can't rush, so I have to think. And I notice things. And animals actually want to talk to me." Little Tortoise frowned, thinking about this. "So, is it better to be slow?" "No," Tortoise said. "It's better to be kind. It's better to pay attention. It's better to be careful. You can do those things whether you're fast or slow. I just didn't learn them until I had no choice." Years passed. Tortoise got even slower as he aged. His shell stayed cracked. His back right leg never really worked properly again. But he lived a long life. Longer than most animals in the forest. He saw generations of animals grow up. He became known for his wisdom, for his patience, for his careful advice. Young animals would come to him with problems. He'd listen slowly, think carefully, and offer suggestions that usually helped. He never raced again. He never even tried to run. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, he'd watch deer sprint through the forest, or see younger tortoises racing each other. He'd feel a small pang of loss. A memory of what it felt like to move like that. But then he'd look at the sunset he was watching. Or listen to the birds singing their evening songs. Or think about the conversation he'd had that morning with Fox, about her cubs. And he'd realize something. He saw more now, moving slowly, than he ever had racing through life. The animals who asked him why he walked so slowly would hear different versions of his story. Some heard about the race. Some heard about the fall. Some heard about the 3 days of crawling home. But the lesson was always the same: speed isn't everything. Sometimes, being forced to slow down teaches you what you were missing when you rushed past it. Tortoise died peacefully one warm afternoon, resting under his favorite tree. At his funeral, the whole forest came. Even animals from other forests who'd heard about him. They told stories about his wisdom, his patience, his kindness. About the advice he'd given them. About how he always had time to listen. Little Tortoise, who wasn't so little anymore, stood up to speak. "When I was young, I asked him why he walked so slowly," Little Tortoise said. "He told me his story. About being fast, about the race, about the fall. But the real answer wasn't about his legs or his broken shell. The real answer was that he learned to see the world differently. He learned that moving fast through life means you miss most of it. I'm fast," Little Tortoise continued. "But I walk slowly on purpose now. Because he taught me that speed is a choice, but paying attention is a gift." The animals nodded. They understood. And that's why tortoises walk slowly to this day. Not because they can't move faster, but because they learned, long ago, that the journey matters more than the speed. That some things can't be rushed. And that sometimes, the slowest path teaches you the most. My grandmother would always end this story by saying, When you're rushing through life, ask yourself what you're racing toward and what you're racing past.